Hi everybody, it's me, Jennifer, from Little Metal Foxes, and I wanted to tell you about some stuff that's coming up, and very excited about. But first, I want to give a shout out to Savage Industries. Adam Savage and his website is a phenomenal thing, and if you are not following it, please go follow Adam Savage immediately because he is so awesome. One of the things I really like about Adam is he has such great advice for makers of all kinds. Oh, hi. Hey, Chris. Welcome back. Hi there. How are you? And congratulations to Spirit of Indulgence, by the way. So, love you. Mwah. And welcome. So, I've got a couple of things I want to share with you. So, as I was saying, go check out Savage Industries and Adam Savage's YouTube channel. He does one-day builds. He used to work, he's one of the guys from Mythbusters, who you probably will recognize immediately if you don't already know. And he used to work for Industrial Light and Magic and has done a lot of movie work and prop work and is a maker that has tremendous experience in all kinds of areas because he works with so many different materials and tools. I would highly recommend it. Some of my favorite tools he's actually introduced me to, which I find absolutely fascinating because I have quite a collection of tools myself, and one of the tools that I really love that he introduced me to is the Wily Clamp. These are fantastic for many reasons. He will, if you watch his channel, he can go into why this is one of his favorite tools. It is also now one of mine. I love that the jaws are almost parallel, first of all. Second, it has a place that it can hold square wire and tubing. It also has a throat that goes all the way through the handle, as you can see. So for longer pieces, if you're trying to file an end or saw a piece of tubing down, this is a really nice clamp to have. And it's great for stone setting on stud earrings because it has little notches in it, so you can put your stud back in there and set your stone on top. So it really is a handy little clamp. It's not very expensive. It's from Amazon. But I found that from Adam's recommendation. Also, the other thing that I love is that Savage Industries produces demerit badges. And I think all people, all makers should have some of these because you know what I'm talking about. If you've built anything from IKEA or have been working on something and it has a limited number of parts, the lost screw demerit badge, demerit badge is one of my favorites. The I cut my finger badge, which I think is tremendous and I absolutely love. Hit your thumb with a hammer, and how many metalsmiths have already earned this one? So absolutely. And the broken drill bit, which I think it actually kind of goes that way, but the broken drill bit. So I picked up some of these because I'm going to add them to my apron because I've certainly earned these. Anyway, but check out Adam Savage's YouTube channel and enjoy that because he's got so much advice and so many great tips and favorite tools, and just really good to hang out and watch that for a while. So when you have a chance, do it. Also, what I wanted to tell you about though is making roller milling plates for unique, wonderful ways of being able to make your own designs, repeat designs, and just be able to etch on things like brass, copper, and mild steel. So this is a way that you can create plates not only for creating texture on one-of-a-kind projects, but for creating texture that you can transfer onto other pieces. So if I'm working with making my plates, I'm usually making my plates out of brass. You can make them easily, and I know Chris would say he probably would use mild steel for this, and you can also use nickel, which Julia uses, and you can do this with copper pretty easily. I like the brass because sometimes I actually use the brass for pieces, which is really kind of cool, because I can actually, do some fun things with the brass. I started out as a printmaker many years ago, and doing, oh, hi Kathleen, doing some wonderful prints, and I was doing primarily lithography, but spent some time doing some etching and woodcut stuff as well. And I fell in love with the plates, you know, and here I am, a metalsmith, going, ooh, plates. So I actually have some old printmaking plates that I still use for different things. I actually use them for the texture, but that's why they're kind of inked up, because they have a printer's ink that's been rubbed into the surface. And, oh, hi, Tracy. But the wonderful thing about this is, if you're etching your own plates like this, you can use them not only for your metals and jewelry stuff, but you can actually print them before you use them for your metals and jewelry stuff, which is really kind of cool. So you can do like etch and print jewelry. So you might do something like, you know, etch your plate and print it onto a piece of like rag paper, you know, an artist's paper, and then make your earrings out of it. And then when you sell them, you have like the print and earrings. So just a thought. Anyway, but this is really kind of a fun way to not only, you know, etch your pieces and make them unique, but when you do it on something like brass sheet, mild steel, nickel, you can use this to transfer design onto another piece of metal like silver, gold, copper very easily. And it's repeatable, and they last a pretty long time. The brass and the mild steel, I think, probably hold up the longest. You can use, oh, Kevin Potter gave you 4 new plates for what? Oh, awesome, just for visiting? Man, lucky, Chris. So, yeah, but these are kind of fantastic because you can use all kinds of things for resist. You can actually do things like photographic images, which I have in here someplace, and transfer all kinds of designs onto the plates. Where is it? I've got one in here someplace. Well, anyway, yeah, like photographic images from a letter that was done. Anyway, I have a woman on one of them that's really kind of cool. But you can transfer these images in a number of different ways, and you can actually draw with different resist to create, you know, hand-done, you know, sorts of patterns and images. So using something like a paint pen, which is what I used for that one, or something like Sharpie markers, nail polish, and other things can act as a really good resist. But there are other ones that you can use that you can, you know, draw your image, run it through a printer, and get a copy that's like PNP or something similar. That would allow you to transfer the direct image from your printed image or clip art onto original art onto your piece. I really like drawing directly on the plates and doing my own designs that way, but if you are interested in doing the etching part, it's not as hard or messy as you might think it is, and you don't need a whole lot of extra room. Julia's going to be doing the Etch in a Bag workshop coming up on Saturday the 26th. It is just, for those of you that haven't seen it, it's brilliant because you can actually etch a plate in like 20 minutes, and she shows you, you know, how to do the resist, how to prepare the plates, how to do it in a bag safely, and what chemicals you need, what tools you need to do that. Then once you do that, you can use those plates in the rolling mill to transfer your image or to use them as printing plates as well. So there's lots of great ways to do that. Oh, there's one with the gal on it. Yeah, there's sort of it's a reverse image, so when it prints it has like a woman on it. Anyway, but consider that, because when you're doing this kind of work a lot, there are tons and tons of plates out there that you can use, that you can buy, that are lovely images. You know, Potter USA, Rio, and even places like Rolling Mill Resource, which I love their images. They have these wonderful designs that are laser etched into the paper, and it gives you a really beautiful embossed image, and I love them. And they can do custom work as well, which is really kind of nice. And you can use all kinds of things like, you know, natural objects. These are skeleton leaves, or found pieces, and, you know, I really love the Rolling Mill Resource stuff with their natural, you know, images. The thing, though, that I really kind of like about being able to do my own plates is I can get a very painterly quality. I can get something that doesn't already exist. I can get something that is, you know, new and wild and wonderful if I want. and I can set them up so I can do different band rings on them just for, different pattern texture. And you can see I've used some of these in the past. These are really deeply etched, so they're going to last a really long time. So depending on how long you etch them, you get different resist will hold up for different amounts of time. The plates will hold up for different amounts of time depending on what metal you're rolling it through, what kind of metal your plate is made out of, how much pressure you're using, and so on. But there's lots and lots and lots of options out there. But if you really like that kind of adding texture to the surface of your work, you want to do something that's unique, there are all kinds of ways to do it with etching. And real simple, very low tech, Etch in a Bag, and that is on Saturday, February 26th. And then the rolling mill class, rolling mill essentials class, is the following day on Sunday. So if you want to learn both of those things, sort of together and how they work, it's a great rolling mill weekend, an etching weekend. The thing too that I would give a shout out to Julia Lowther about is she has, growing up as a printmaker and doing it as a printmaker in tanks and having the bubblers and moving things and working with horrible acids and big ways and, just messy situations. And printmakers think very differently than metalsmiths do about etching metal. And it's really kind of fascinating for that. But this, the Etch in a Bag class breaks it down to it's so simple. It's really very easy and very safe to work with. It is, you don't have to have a lot of equipment. You don't have to have electrical stuff, and the material that you're doing this with will last a really long time. So you can do it for years and produce some really unique stuff. So anyway, yay. So there's that. Also, the rolling mill class that is going to be the following day from the etching class is really, I like to demystify the rolling mill a little bit, because a lot of people sort of go to a lot of the schools and or workshops where they have things like, a $3,000 Durston over under that's, a couple of, several inches wide. And those are fantastic. They are, incredible workhorses in a studio. They can take all kinds of abuse. That's why they use them in places like schools and in industry where it's going to get used a lot. But in a small scale studio, in a home studio, or a smaller studio like mine, do you really need to have a Durston if you're doing this work occasionally? No. And you can find a lot of really wonderful options for economy mills that are actually really, really good. So, that will serve many, many purposes. One of the economy mills that I have does all kinds of different shapes of wire. It does textures. It does flat. It does half round. It does, all kinds of stuff. And I use it a lot. And the gear ratio on it is fantastic. And it has several roller options that I can change the roller. And when I first saw those, I'm like, that looks complicated and ridiculous. And it's cheap, so there must be something wrong. And I found that I ended up getting one as a trade for teaching many years ago, and I have found that once I took it apart and played with it and cleaned it and did my thing with it, I was like, oh, well, this is really, really simple in a studio. Why aren't more people using these? So I've got that to show you how it works, how to maintain them as well, and demystify it quite a lot. You can get a rolling mill for not much more than you would pay for a decent flex shaft. So, if you are sort of on the fence about it and you're like, I don't know if I can afford one, I'm not sure what it would do, how does it work, do I really need one? If you're recycling metal, if you are wanting to, which we're going to be doing in April, it can pay for itself just because you can recycle metal with it and turn it into sheet and wire, just for that alone. But being able to do the textures, thin down metal into a different gauge, be able to change a profile of wire, to be able to texture wire, and so much more. There's so many reasons to really consider getting a rolling mill for your studio if you've got a place that you really want to work, and your excuse to go and pay for a class is a rolling mill. You're going to end up paying for that rolling mill real quick if you just get the rolling mill and don't need to go to a studio to pay for one like that, just to pay for the use of one. So anyway, I would definitely recommend it. So the classes that are coming up are going to be the Etch in a Bag. So get your funk on with a lot of really cool textures. And oh, I love this one. It's a lobster. It's a lobster. Ha ha ha. And I love my lobsters. So, but yeah, so you can do a lobster on there. This one's also been printed. So yeah, I'll etch and then print my images and then make stuff out of the printed image as well as transfer the image onto copper and silver. So, and I usually recommend doing this rather than trying to etch gold or silver. That way you don't lose any of the metal in the acid bath. And gold and silver you have to use really harsh chemicals to do that. So by working with copper, mild steel, or nickel, you actually have a little bit easier way to transfer that image. Also, yeah, Jan Smith just commented too, I can't see it, but I'm betting that Jan would tell you that this is actually a great way to use it for enamels as well, to texture your enamels and do really beautiful stuff with transparency over them. What gauge brass sheet am I using Etch on? Good question, Tracy. Hi. And, it really doesn't matter too terribly much. I'm usually working with a little bit heavier gauge brass, and you can pick up a heavy gauge brass from the hardware store. There's usually a K&S display that can get you some heavy gauge pieces like this that you can buy in like 6x12 pieces or 6x6 pieces. But the ones that I've got, let's see, let's just check, shall we? So this one, nice heavy piece. It has been etched, but it started out as, that one was 14 gauge. So I personally like working with a little bit heavier gauge because I can get really deep etches with them. I may have to reapply some of my my resist about halfway through, because after a while the resist will start to lift because the acid wants to etch underneath it. So you sometimes have to reapply a little bit to get like a really deep, bite like that. So this one may be a little bit thinner. So let's see what this is. Oh, this is like, I think this one started out as 18 gauge. Yeah, this one started out as 18 gauge. So, and then I etched that pretty deep, and it still has held up through quite a number of rollings. One of the things that Julia will walk you through a lot of the technical parts of the etching and how to prepare for it. But what I like to do is use like a primer on the back, like an acrylic or an enamel primer, and then just spray the back of my pieces so they're sealed, and that doesn't etch through. So that's protected, but some people will use contact paper or electrical tape and things like that, or any kind of solid resist that'll keep it from coming off. But there's all kinds of stuff you can use for resist, and I love it. So yeah, and you can like paint stuff on and draw back through it, and and use all kinds of painterly materials to get some really raw, rugged texture, or really paint on stuff to get some really lovely pieces. So I've got, these are almost long enough for bracelets, but anyway, but yeah, so brass works fantastic, nickel works fantastic, mild steel works fantastic, and you want to use mild steel for the process, but those can hold up a really long time if you're working with an annealed silver or an annealed copper. So yeah, Julia's going to talk to you guys about some of the other resists that she uses and how to transfer things like your original drawings using it's a heated material to transfer it on. It's not PNP, but it's like PNP glue that you can use to attach really like perfect images and get a great resist with those guys. But yeah, there's all kinds of reasons to do this. So yeah, you bet, absolutely, Tracy. So if you guys have any questions about the rolling mills, what works and why, and where to get them, you'd be surprised how affordable they are and how good some of the economy ones are, and they are available in a lot of different places. So consider that. But yeah, So anyway, I have a whole bin full of treasures that I have run through the rolling mill, and that I will pull out from time to time and use them for, random earring pieces or findings, or boxes and all kinds of things. And you can do things like etch tubing and make boxes out of that, which is really kind of fun with copper or brass that you can get at the hardware store. So there's all kinds of wonderful things out there that you can do. Yeah, you bet. So if you have any questions about the etching part, and how to make it simple and how to make it not like make you crazy, Julia is going to answer all those questions for you. And again, it's the immediacy. Hi, hey there. What economy mill would I suggest? I would suggest the one that you need. So there are. It's a good question. So the question is, what economy mill would I suggest? And there are a lot of economy mills out there. There are a lot of there's a huge range of, there's as many different rolling mills as there are, dogs out in the world, it seems like. But the thing about rolling mills is you want to make sure you have one that's going to suit your needs in your studio. And and that's going to depend on your work. So if you are making, really small earrings and, really small pendants, and, they're limited to a certain size, you may not need, a Durston rolling mill that has, plates this wide. It's just not necessary. You may find that having something that's, a couple of inches wide is going to suit your needs, and it's going to be a lot less expensive. So even if you're getting a good quality one, it's going to be a lot less expensive. So learning, to sort of evaluate your needs, what your needs are in your own studio, is going to make a huge difference in what you're looking at for an economy mill or a high-end mill. One of the reasons that I have, again, this economy mill is because I came across it kind of in a trade, and so lucky me. But I basically was exchanging for classes that I was teaching, and they had a bunch of, economy rolling mills, and I was like, what are you doing with those? And they were like, we're going to sell them. And I was like, would you trade for the class that I just taught? And they were like, yes. So yeah, I ended up doing a trade for that, and it has 4 different rollers. So it does smooth rollers, it does textured rollers, it does wire, it does half round. So it does a number of different things, which for me, I needed the versatility in my studio, and I wanted to have something that had a really good gear ratio, so it was easy to roll. So those were the things that were important to me, so then I could start looking for an economy mill. The one that I needed was the one that I ended up with, coincidentally. So that has been great. The cool thing about some of the economy mills that come with multiple rollers, interchangeable rollers, is that they are, it takes me between 4 and 6 minutes, and I've timed it to act and not rushing to change the rollers. That's it. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, it's a big pain in the ass to change the rollers. And I'm like, no, it's not really. So, but you just have to know what to do, and I keep all my tools for my rolling mill together. So for cleaning the rolling mill, for setting things up, for just maintaining it and keeping it fresh and ready to go and not letting it get rusty, all of those things make a huge difference. Hello, Leslie, hi. So yeah, to answer your question, it's not easy. The gear ratio, thank you, good questions, thank you. You're good at asking questions, you do it all the time. The gear ratio with the rolling mill is how many times around the handle will go compared to the ratio of the rollers turning. So if you've got a 1-to-1 ratio, means that the gear that's going around is going around once for every turn of the mill. And that can be tragically difficult to do from time. You're trying to get it through the roller. But it's like gears on a bike. If you're trying to go uphill, you want to sort of shift into a lower gear that's going to be like 12 speed. And you can kind of go up the hill and run your stuff through the rolling mill a little more easily. So a higher gear ratio is going to give you a better a smoother roll when you're rolling things through. So if you've got at least like a 4-to-1 ratio, that's usually going to be a little bit smoother. I wouldn't recommend anything lower than that usually, simply because it's pretty easy and pretty practical for most jewelry studios to have a 4-to-1 ratio. So to answer your question, yeah. So if you've got the Etch in a Bag class on Saturday, and then the rolling mill class with all the basics, and I will break down the rolling mill so you can see it too, by the way. So if you want to take the class, you can kind of see what it looks like to change the rollers as well, and which economy mills. We'll talk about a whole bunch of them, and you know, who's got them, where they come from. You know, is Amazon okay? Is a no-name brand okay? We'll talk about all that stuff for everybody. But you can get a good rolling mill for around $300 for a small-scale studio, and for that, it's like, yeah, go recycle some work. go recycle some silver, go recycle some gold, and it makes it really easy to do, because you're like, melt down the old stuff, run it through the mill, and you're done. You know, and you've got the metal that you need, in the gauge that you need, and the shape that you need. So yeah, it's good stuff. I love the rolling mill, and it's not like I use it all the time, but when you need it, it's really nice to have it in the studio, because it does the job that nothing else will do. Tracy's asking, Etch in a Bag, is there a bag of goodies to purchase before the class? No, actually there's not. Julia has a list of things that that's basically what she's using to demo with, and it's not like the electro etch, the saltwater etch, or the, you know, that one. It's not the electro etch. It's just etching in a bag, and there are some basic tools that you can get locally, and all the stuff you can pretty much either get locally or from Amazon. It's super affordable, and things like Ziploc bags and like a little foam roller that you can pick up from Home Depot. So it's pretty simple stuff. And all of our classes, just so you know too, you can go onto the website, and you can see all of the materials that you need for a class before you sign up. So if it looks like, you know, you've got the tools, great, or if it's tools that you can pick up for the class, great. And she's going to be doing a demo, and then you can work afterwards. So you don't necessarily have to have all of the materials for the class. You've got 30 days to watch the video as well, so you can actually like watch the video, sit in the class and participate, ask your questions, and yeah, and just, you know, enjoy it and interact with the other students. Then you can go and get the stuff and watch the video again and follow along, take some screenshots, add that to your handout. And I have to say, Julia produces the most comprehensive handouts of anyone I've ever known in the many, many years that I've been teaching. So she is always over-prepared. So I would definitely check that out. Yeah, let's see, who else had a question? And you know, don't give yourself a hard time. It's always one of those things that it's like, you don't know until you know, and asking questions is great, and that's why we like to do the classes live, with people responding and interacting and being there, and so you guys can share that experience, and people are going to ask questions that you might not even have thought to ask, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a great question. So that's why we do it live, and then you've got the video that you can go back to and refer to later on, right? So, yeah. So, you know, etching, and then run it through the rolling mill and have fun with that. So, yeah. So if you have any questions about that, email us. And as you all probably know, because some of you, those are familiar faces out there, probably already know this, our YouTube channel has all of our tooltips and more listed, so you can go back and watch all of our tooltips on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Little Metal Foxes. And there's also some bonus materials that you guys might find really helpful, other little things that we're going to be doing coming up that are free content as well. So check that out on YouTube. And as always, because these are recorded live on Instagram, they are also available on our page. So if you go over to our Instagram page, you can see that. And Kathleen Faulkner says, it's so great to tune in on Tuesdays for your wonderful tooltip videos. Thank you. And so good. Thank you. You're welcome. I love doing them. And it's almost been an entire year of doing tooltips. I am I'm pretty proud of myself. I've been here every Tuesday. So, doing tooltips. And Julia's done a couple of tooltips, and I love it when I get together with her. And she's been teaching in the evenings lately, so I haven't had a chance to go over and play with Julia in her studio, other than, doing stuff. But, sign up for some classes. They're super affordable, and it's a great way to meet some new people and learn some new stuff. And even if you don't have a chance to sit in on the class, you still have the video. So, thank you, Leslie Parker, for joining us tonight, too. You're awesome as well. You're the most awesome sister I have, and I love you. So if you guys have any questions about rolling mills, etching, those are the 2 classes for you. Email us if you have questions, and have a great evening. Join us next week for tool tips at probably about 6 o'clock on Tuesday. And if you have anything that you would like to see discussed or demonstrated in a tooltip, email us, direct message us, and let us know what you'd like to see. All right? We'll see you later, my babies. Bye. Have a good night.